Join the Carlo.
Welcome to Yeshiva Daf. Shir sponsor Yeshiva Sam Yakushon Lebasitzchok. We're holding in Basra Daf Kuf Chov Zayin. We're starting Daf Kuf Chov on the base in the bottom, the last four lines. Omar Rabbi Amir. Rabbi said, Tumtum shenikro v'nimtza zocher. You have a tumtum. Tumtum is that his aver is covered, so we don't know if it's a male or female. Opened up, you find out he did surgery, you find out he's a male. Ain't no to pishtar, didn't take double as a bchor. The Omar Kro, v'aya haben bchor l'sniyah. It says v'hoyo, at she ben mishasavai has to be v'hoyo ben has to be a son, has to be recognized as a male from the time of birth. Now waits to go off. No need him kibin tzoyamor. Doesn't have din tzoyamor. Bin tzoyamor. Tomar kor ki yelish bin tzoyamor. At she ben mishasavai has to be ki ben. He's always a boy from beginning to end. Says the Gemara in the Chul Zayin Mudal on top. Ameimer Omar afing no mimayet chelik b'choyer. Also, it doesn't take less than chelik b'choyer. What does it mean? It doesn't take less than chelik b'choyer. Meaning like this: when a b'chor, let's say there's a b'chor and then two other brothers. So if you have the two brothers are regular brothers, so then the din is that the b'chor will take double of one portion. So let's say there is 9 chalakim. He will take, right? Let's make it easy. You have 12 chalakim. You have 12. So the b'chor is gonna take 6, and each one of them will take 3. But if this person is a tumtum, he was born as a tumtum, and you don't know he's a boy, so he doesn't take away from chelik b'chor. So the way the Rambam explains it, the b'chor, he looks at it as if I have only one brother from a chelik b'chor. So what I do is I'm not taking 6, I'm going to take double of 1. So if I'll take 8. I take 12. If I have only one brother, if only a b'chor and one brother, so one brother takes 4. And the b'chor takes 8 because he takes double of the 1. Then once that's the chelik b'chor. What's the double of the 1? He's going to take 4. That's his chelik b'chor. Right? Again, case of 12. If he has only one brother, he's supposed to take 8. 4 as a b'chor, 4 as a regular kid, and the other brother takes 4.
It's not a b'chor.
No, not the tutu.
Not the tumtum.
Right. Reuben was born a b'chor.
Offspring is a tumtum.
No. So it goes like that. That's how they go. Reuben was born regular kid, a b'chor. Right. Shimon is born after Mazel Tov. Levi is born at tumtum. Right. So Shaila is how much Reuben takes. So Reuben is not going to be mimad chelik b'chor for Levi. For Reuben's b'chor chelik, as if Levi doesn't exist. So I have Reuben and Shimon. What happens if I have only Reuben and Shimon? So then Reuben takes 8. What's the 8 that he takes if you have 12? 4 is a b'chor, 4 is a pashut. So the 4 is a b'chor he takes. That's the 4. Then what do you have left? 8. Right? Because there was 12. 4 he took as a b'chor, you're left with 8. But now you divide it by 3. He's not mimad the chelik b'chor. Only the chelik b'chor is not effective by the tumtum, but the chelik pashut is. The cheshbon of b'chor starts with the pasuk that says Yodel Banim Shia Ben Mishas Leidu. You won't have a bris milah in the 8 days. In other words, what does it mean there's not a bris in the 8 days? On Shabbos. That's a born a male. She also doesn't have tumas leidu. If she gave birth to a zachar, so then he tells you she is zachar mishas leidu. Says the Gemara. So there's no tumas leidu at all. The tumah of a leidu that has to do with the male and female is only when you know what it is. It's like a woman and a miscarriage so clearly you go to chumrah. You don't say that you don't have tumas leidu. You do have tumas leidu. And you go to chumrah on both sides, as a male and female. We know by male, he has 1 week of Dmei Tahara, and 1 week of Dmei of Tumah, and then 33 days of Dmei Tahara. And by Nekeva, you have 2 weeks of Tumah and 66 days of Dmei Tahara. So you go to chumrah in both. Tiyutu de Avshaviyot Tiyutu. Clearly not Avshaviyot. Says Gemara, Leimo Tiavit Tiyutu de Avshizvi. Shizvi says that there's no bris milah. L'chora, this mandama that says that there is tumas leidu, l'chora doesn't agree with its called cloud because why? It's the same pasuk. Says the Gemara, Tano sepuki misakele uluchum. It goes to Suffolk. Suffolk, it goes to Chumrah. What's the Chumrah? It's supposed like this. I don't know what to do. So therefore I paskin that you don't do bris milah on Shabbos. Yachi teishev lezocher v'lekevo v'lenido mibayalei. If you're only going to Chumrah, so you have to do nida as well. Kash. What does it mean nido? Now I can go to the whole cheshbon. So you see the big Rashbam over here. It's a big Gemara in Erchin that the point is like this. Just to mention it out. If a woman did not have neither a boy or a girl, so then she has no children, she has a din of a nido. What's the din of a nido? If she sees blood, she becomes Tom Yeshivas Yom. In the 7 days she goes to the mikvah. If she sees blood afterwards, after the first 7 days, during 11 days of Kol Yemei Zivo, so then if she sees 3 consecutive days, she becomes a Zava. That's what we call Nida D'Oraisa. But if she did have a baby, so the cheshbon is different. So the din is, if you're saying that I don't know, I'm not so sure if it's a boy or a girl, if I don't know if it's going to be anything, you have to go with all the chumras. You have to take the chumrah of a nida that will mess you up with the cheshbon. You have to take the chumrah of a leida, I'm not sure if it's messing up with the cheshbon. And each one of them gives you, the Rashban goes on through the whole cheshbon, based on the Gemara and Erchin, a whole cheshbon, when it messed up, it doesn't mess up. So you have to, and that's like it's only a chumrah. It's like more kasha, you're right. According to, we're missing here something. One of the sfeikis that we have, we're not mentioning. Why are we not mentioning it? Nito. That's a kasha. Says the Rashban, it's not a tiyuvto. Not tiyuvto. Okay, we didn't mention one of the sfeikis. But it's a kasha. Omar over Tanya Kavasei, the Rav Ami, that we saw, that started it. That Tutu Shenikra, that he doesn't take Pishnayim. What is Rav Ami? Ben Veloy Tumtum, Bechor Veloy Sofik. It has to be a son, not a Tumtum. We're going double. And a Bechor, not a Sofik. Ben Veloy Tumtum Kedavan. Ben Veloy Tumtum, I understand, that is Karavami, the what? That we said you don't take double. And the Bechor Veloy Sofik, Lafui Mai, what does it mean? He's a Bechor, not a Sofik. Lafukim in the Dor Shova, Shtei Noshim, Shioldu Betz Chorim B'Makbor. You have 2 women, of one husband, 2 women, and they both had kids. They were hiding. We don't know who was born first. So we say like this: one of them is a b'chor, one of them is not. I don't know which was a b'chor, which was not a b'chor. So what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and say that each one should write harashah. I mean, one point that this explains over here is shliach. So you have 2 kids, Reuben and Shimon. Reuben gives Shimon a letter that says like this: if you're the b'chor, you take double. If I'm the b'chor, you're my shliach. And then we'll split it. Ask all my abbonim, they didn't tell me anything. So in other words, so Rava said, even though I don't know who the b'chor is, you will appoint it. So I came and told him, Ravi, that's not true. Because when I don't know, you need to know that you need to recognize a b'chor. Now, even though right now you don't know, after you recognize who the b'chor is, they got mixed up, they could do our shaz, that one can appoint the other one as a shliach. But it needs to be at least one moment that I know who the b'chor is. So he said that's what he learned from Rav Yana. Hodu ki rova amor yalei v'dor shron shamaytachem tosem. Yodu what he says is a mistake. Pakachol mishur Yana to say in Rav Yana. Hukru so nisarvu koisim hashozal zeh lo hukru ein koisim hashozal zeh. If they will recognize who's the b'chor, who's not, then they have the right to think of b'chor. If not, and that is what we said. B'chor v'lo sofik. If I don't know who the b'chor is, I never knew who the b'chor is, then you can appoint a shliach. Okay, says the Gemara. So the people of that area sent to Shmuel. Please teach us our Rebbe. We know this one is a b'chor. Right, that's what we mentioned already. Previous daf, the Rashbam mentioned it. We know that you have a few kids. Reuben is the b'chor. Comes the father and says, "No, Shimon is the b'chor." Bava. They appoint each other as a shliach. Right? That's what he says. He says, what do you mean? Why? Manushach. That what? That they hold that as I was going to say in a moment, that they hold that you can't do such a thing. You can't say when I know Reuben is the b'chor, that Shimon is the b'chor. Lishlach l'Kirabban. It's not l'Kirabban. Ikabiyuda Sfira Lishlach Kirabiyuda. So what are you saying to do a Shah Zilazeh? It says the Gemara, Misavkali Kirabiyuda Ikirabban. He doesn't know. He's not sure if you can do that or not. So therefore, Misafik, what do? Each one should appoint a Shliach. Then you know they can split it. It says the Gemara, what's the Mochlek? It's the Tanya. It says that it's a Braiso, one in Nivamis, one in Kiddushin. The Gemara says, the Tanya Yakir Yakirenu Lachem. It says Yakir, you have to recognize, the father recognizes the Bechor. It's saying this son is my Bechor. So we could say it's a Bechor, so you could say it's a Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza. This is a very interesting topic. That we're not, what?
Bechor is a mom, this Ben Grusha Chalutza, this is a sir.
No, Bechor also has other things.
Just Keduya.
Right?
Just a pigeon.
Right, so
Ben Chalutza is Mecholol.
Right, Bechor also, pigeon for pigeon. But, so, a good point. The reason why I'm going, this is a big discussion. Let me show you why. How do you know that? The Rashbam says over here, if I could say Zabchor, I have Neymonos for my kids. The Taisa says, no, the reason it works is that he could say that what's been a Snur Yakir? The Torah says, Ben a Snur Yakir, he's going to be Makir than Nesuin. There was a Snur. That's a positive. What's a Snur? Snur Ben Nesuin. It was a bad Nesuin, bad marriage. Says the Gemara, so that's what he brings over here.
Just a second, didn't we learn before that a father has a right to give, as long as they're all Yarshim, he can give more?
So let's get back to that moment. Let's get back to that. Let's just finish the Mahalach here, just the discussion. We'll get back to that point. So he says he's Neman Lama, that he's a Bchor. He's not Neman. Right? It says Yakir. What does the Yakir teach me? Right? I don't know. If he, I don't know who is the Bechor at all. So then you have to do it. So now, that's what they get to this. Look at the shul in the next point. What's the halacha regarding Yakir? Let me stop pishtay to give him double. Right. I mean, I can give it to anybody I want. So I say he's a Bechor. I'll tell you what's left. He can give anybody what he wants right now. But if I'm going to have the Nechasim coming later, I can't do that.
But we have the Machlaikis if it's after the Misa.
Not after death. Say, can I give something today? I say, this is my Bechor, I want to give him double. And then 3 years later, I got a Nechasim, I didn't never give it to him. There was no Kinyan. So can he give her or not?
Before Misa?
What?
Before Misa?
Give her before Misa.
When somebody's saying, and I was saying this is my Bechor, he's going to tell me before I die, he's going to get Pishnai.
I know, but it's not the Rosh
Hashanah. He's saying that, but he's saying
right now, he's doing the Kinyan today. The Kinyan today is supposed to work for things in the future.
He's just saying I'm out.
So you're probably touching up what he was, the next sentence will clarify it. In other words, it depends. Can I give you something I don't own right now? Rabbanan said you can't. According to Amir, you could. So according to Rabbanan, I understand why you need Yakir, because without Yakir, I can't give you what didn't come. According to Amir, why do I need it? But if you remember Kiddushin, was a big discussion about that. But the idea regarding Goyses is you can be Makir. A person who's his death, but he can't be Makir. I could be Makir Dover Shalom B'Loilom as long as I have the ability to give it. But if I'm going to get it when I'm a Goyses, that I can't do. Right? So now look at the Rashbam, second line of the Rashbam. How do you go to Chosov Shenefim Mishas Shesh B'Koyach Litnum Lachem? Only something you can give to somebody else. He can't do it. He can't talk. He can't give it. So he made that to the Gemara says that when a Chosov Shenefim Lo Yikashu Koyses. Very good. So look at the Gemara now. So we made that's the idea of Yakir. Yakir is that he can come and say, I want to give the Chosov double for the whole thing. So he says, this is a Bechor. We know Reuben is a Bechor. It's because the father says Shimon is a Bechor. Neman is Neman. That's like, right? Like what? Like a Yehuda. If I know that he's not a Bechor, that's what I know, and come and the father says a Bechor, he's not Neman. So what do you mean? No, the first, when I know Reuben is a Bechor, right? And the father says he's not a Bechor, Shimon is the Bechor. Ne'eman.
It's the same thing.
It's a flip side. It's the two opposite cases. Reuben is, I know he's a Bechor, and I'm taking it away from him. Shimon, I know that he's not a Bechor, and I'm giving it to him.
If you knew Reuben's the Bechor,
It's a flip side. Says the Gemara, that's a steer. I mean, usually clarify. The details of the case are the opposite. Case number one is someone you know a Bechor taking away from him. Second case is someone you don't know a Bechor giving it to him. So come on, 1 second. Rashis Rabbi Yehuda Yaznem. Sorry, no, say this one. Omar B'Yechon Omar says the Gemara. So that's it. And that's what the Gemara says. That's what it is. And the Gemara says, Nichnami. Says the Gemara, Omar B'Yechon. Omar B'Nihu, Chozav Omar Avdihu. Person says, this is my son. Then he says, my slave. Ain't a name. He's not a name.
On what part?
What?
On the second or in the first?
He's not named on the second one. Why? Look at those shores. In the name of my doma ashta avdi. Veleka lema had the korli mitchila b'ni mishum do'aya v'kibnoi. Dein derech likur la'avdi b'noi. You said someone is a son. He's not a slave. You're changing your mind now. Too late. You can't say he's a slave. Avdiu v'chozav avdiu name. But if he says someone, he's my slave. This is my son. He's name. Because what do you mean to say he's a avid? The mishamish likov the kol. It means he's such a good servant. He's serving me well like a slave. The opposite is Beis HaMeches. What's Beis HaMeches? Beis HaMeches is taxes. When you're going through customs, you're trying to avoid customs. If it's your son, you don't pay customs there. But if it's a slave, you have to pay customs. So if I go Beis HaMeches or B'niyu, he says, this is my son. Why? He wanted to avoid to pay taxes. But I'm not after you because of you. He says a slave, which is very detrimental to him, because now he has to pay taxes, ain't an name. Right? So that is not him. Says the Gemara, he's serving as a son. So that is good. Right? He says a son, he can't say I'm a slave afterwards. He's serving as a slave. Also ain't a name. And that's the Chori that now, like we just said. We said, according to Rabbi Yochanan, that if a person says on somebody that he's a slave, then he says, my son, he is name because he could say, well, the reason I called him a slave because he's working so nicely. There's Eved, which is Meitzar Meo. What's a Meitzar Meo? My Meitzar Meo, my Meitzar Meo, Meitzar Avdo, Mea Zuzo. The worth of him is 100 zuzah. In other words, he's not just saying he's my slave. What does Rabbi Yochanan say? If a person comes and says that you are my slave, and the person says it's on his son that he says this is my slave, he doesn't say he's such a good son, he serves me so well. But if he says he's a slave who's worth $100, you don't call your son that way. So if a person said that, then he's not that. Then even Rabbi Yochanan will agree he's not that. Okay, so we'll stop over here. With this, we end this daf.